This is Harry Judd for Boxing Social Association, William Hill and Empire Fight Store. I'm delighted to be joined by Kevin Mitchell, a long time mate. A lot of good memories here in this city. Delighted to have you back, mate.
Yeah, I love Liverpool. You know, Liverpool was like, when I was a kid growing up, like I always said, if I got myself in the right position, I'd always buy an home here in Liverpool. I love Liverpool, Paddlands, good people, like East Londoners, just down to earth people. But yeah, I've had some good memories here. I've had obviously I had some good fights here as a kid, young kid. Obviously as a professional, I come here a couple of times and box. So yeah, I've had some good times here.
Obviously you're working with WestHam Boxing Club, obviously through and throughout. Do you take the boys up here for sparring? Obviously, there's loads of sparring, like loads of amateur boxing clubs here in Liverpool.
Yeah, it goes on. I think West Ham was down here. Was down there a few months back. Down here sparring with West Ham fighters. I couldn't attend that, but then they come down to us. I went out with a few of the lads and a couple of beers with them in the East End and a couple of pints with them. Yeah, but they're good. It's good, isn't it? But the kids all doing really well. I think they're going back and forth with each other, sparring and things, which is always good for the kids. It's good experience for them, because that's like a bat, you know. It's like going in someone's sparring in your own gym all the time, but then going to Liverpool and sparring that ain't your gym. It's just like the unknown. So it's quite decent for the kids to experience that, and for them to come down to us and have the same experience. It's great for them, but yeah, it's good.
Obviously, let's talk about that a little bit, because you know you've retired from professional boxing yourself. Obviously, working with George this weekend, you work with the boys within the gym. But talk to me about that route within amateur boxing. You know, why have you decided to stay within West Ham and do that work with them?
I've just, you know what, I think you've got to give a little bit back and do a little bit of them. So I'm not full on with West Ham. I was down West Ham for 3 years solid, but then I've had to spend more time with the pros. So what I do now, the kids that are now becoming seniorish down West Ham, they come down to me. I train them down the Matchroom gym and I bring them on down there. So,
does your boy train there as well?
Yeah, he trains down the Matchroom, he trains down the West Ham, yeah, and Freddie Pullen. Yeah. But so the kids coming through senior sort of level, I bring them through down the Matchroom gym, and they go back down the West Ham gym. So a bit of mix and match and bring it back and forth. But yeah, I love it working with the kids. I was saying to George this morning on the way up on the train, the reason I really like working with the young ones is because I don't want to be a fighter that I've been given a champion and they're easy to train champions. I like it when I'm bringing fighters through and that, and I'm working with fighters that ain't the top deal at the minute, but I can bring them through to hopefully one day to be one of the top names. So yeah, that's what I really enjoy doing.
Well, it's a successful amateur boxing club. I mean, how many national champions you've got at that club is amazing. But hundreds. Yeah, boxing's relative though, isn't it? I mean, suppose you will train kids that are not in it to be national champions, but to get off the streets and things like that.
Definitely, yeah. So the gym's just gone past 100 years. That gym's been out.
Yeah, I did the video for that, the centenary year.
Yeah, so it's done the 100 years, and they said there's loads of fighters in there. So, you know what I mean? So you're not talking about champions and that. So there's been like fighters out there like from the East End that weren't even. They kept them out of trouble, kept them from being killed, it kept them off the streets, kept them out of prison. It saved thousands of kids' lives, that gym, and it really has done. And it's all the trainers down there that's done the voluntary work, like Russell Jevard, Chris Pennies, them sort of people, Mickey Mays, like Tony Burns of Repton, them sort of people that saved kids' lives. You wouldn't believe how many lives they changed along the way, and yet they didn't want nothing for it. They just the way they were, good people.
What about yourself, though, in terms of, I mean, don't want to go too deep into this, but in terms of you know, boxing and your life, sort of that did the similar thing for you?
Yeah, massively, yeah, of course it did. Yeah, I was a street kid getting on trouble on the streets like everyone else did. As a kid, yeah, I was just like a normal little Dagenham boy, you know, I mean, running around the East End or whatever, where we was, and getting in trouble, and boxing saved my life, yeah. And a good man who looked after me as a kid was a man called Frankie Sims, was a good old boy, looked after me, and just steered me in the right path, kept me out of trouble.
In terms of boxing now, for when you were a professional, in terms of you could compare the eras, is boxing in a good place at the moment? A lot of people would say no.
I think boxing's bigger now than it's ever been. You've got YouTubers earning millions now, and good on them, so they should be. You've got people like myself, like ex-fighters making comebacks and earning more money having like silly little 4, 5, 6 round of fights.
You thought about doing that? I swear you didn't do it. Did you fight?
Mark Potter, I tried doing some money for Mark Potter, making some money for him and his family before he passed away and that, but I don't think I could do it. I'm too old now, and I enjoy doing. I believe I was made to coach fighters. The reason I didn't win the world title was because it's now driven me to be a good coach and make sure I look after kids like George, Maisie Rose, Jimmy Sains, my son Conor, Fred Pullen, and bring them through. and make sure they do succeed in the sport.
Obviously here with this weekend with George Liddard. When did you come to know George? Because I swear, didn't he box at Billericay, ABC?
He was with Billericay and he come down to spar one day, and Tony Sims went to me, this is where Tony Sims has got a good eye. I went, what do you think of that kid, Kev? I went, nothing really, tough kid. I went, that's about it, tough kid, that's about it. He went, he's going to be working with you soon. I said, is he? I said, all I said was a tough kid, but I didn't think much of him. But little did I know he was going to be working with me and become in the gym, and then he's just gone on and he learned so quick and learned so well. He listens, he's like a sponge, he soaks it up. He's a really good fighter, a really top talent.
In terms of amateur fighters that he had, I was there when he boxed for the youth championships, but in terms of how many amateur bouts did he have? Was it a lot or was it quite relative? I didn't think it was.
I think he had about 50 or 60, right around that sort of man. Not loads, not bundles, but same as what I had. But he's just like physically, he's a very strong kid, like athletically. He's so strong and fast. But he just learns and he watches, listens to everything. He's just easy to work with, so easy. And you work with some kids and you just don't go in their head. Most kids these days just want to be famous. They don't realise how hard the work you have to put in to get yourself to that sort of level of fighting. Then suddenly one day you become famous. But most kids these days, I think they just want it now. Like they don't realise how long it takes and how hard it takes. But George listens very well. Yeah, I expect big things from him.
How much of an honour was it? You mentioned how Tony Sims said, gave you, I guess, the honour of perhaps training George and you being the main focus of that fighter. How much an honour was that from Tony? Yeah,
massively. Yeah, I'm now taking over all the new fighters at the Matchroom gym. So like Tony's fighters now, when they'll be going on, and I think eventually that after they're finished, they'll go into semi-retirement, and eventually I'll take over the fighters. Obviously working with Tony and learning off him daily, every day, been around him, how he goes about doing things in the corner, how he goes about doing things in the gym daily. He's very regimental, Tony. He's in that gym like 5:30 in the morning, disinfecting the bag, seriously, I mean, he's like that every day. So good, like, and every day he's consistent. But that's why he's become a great coach. He's known as being a great coach because of how he does things. We've got a young fighter, another fighter with us called Jordan, his name's Jordan. Jordan's like a light heavyweight cruiserweight sort of thing. Big puncher and everything, but he's now coming on bundles because he's now listening to Tony and working with Tony daily. He's learning so fast because he's around. It's so important for young talent to be around the right sort of coaches, because if they're not, all they're doing is rewind the clock. If you run the right coaches, now I know that because I've done this as a fighter. If you're not around the right people at the right times, you might as well just give up. But lucky for the fighters in our gym, they're around the right team and they've got the right team behind them.
Obviously, George fights this weekend, and you mentioned what's the plan for George? I know it's hard to say at the moment, but is it that traditional route, or which way are you looking to sort of guide him through?
To be fair, what I'd like for him is to go down the traditional route, but basically this is a business. He's got to go what's right for him. I'm sure Tony and Charlie Sims will guide him. They're managing him, so they'll guide him in the right light with that. As in for the opponents, I think like he's got a 6-fight contract with Eddie, and basically in 6 fights, I've said, George, you've got to impress. I think Eddie really likes him, from what I can see. I know Eddie. I've seen Eddie's face. I've been around Eddie a long time. I said to George, I think Eddie, I can tell Eddie likes you, but he's nothing not to like. He's a really nice kid. He can fight. He's fast. He's strong. He's talented, and he's eager to impress. But that's something I've got to do with him, is calm him down, because I don't want him to be too eager and it to ruin his performances. But I talk to him before the fights and things like that. I'll get into his head.
Yeah, because I suppose it is quite a lot. He's in the Matchroom gym of all gyms, for example. He's working with you, the likes of Tony Sims, etc. He's on the Matchroom bill with Eddie Earn. How hard or how easy is it? Because you mentioned his mindset. How easy is it to sort of keep him level-headed on the ground, as say?
Yeah, it's fairly easy, you know. Like, through my experiences, I know how to talk to the kids and what to say to them. And being around Tony also helps me, like, being able to get things across to them and that. Yeah, but through my own experiences, I know how to talk to them and how to talk to them, how to calm them down, how to get them head in the right place before they go out, they're not overexcited, and make sure they get the job right.
What type of coach are you? Everyone knows you as a fighter, but in terms of describe your coaching method, if you could describe it now?
I'd coach a fighter not to get hit, to fight off of movement, defensively, and I'm always willing to learn as well. I try coaching the fighters, make sure they don't get hit, punch, not get hit.
A few things in boxing. What do you make of the Tyson Fury Usyk situation in terms of the split and etc.? How damaging is it that fight potentially doesn't happen?
I don't know if it's damaging. I just think like it's got to be right for both fighters on the business side of things, and that's what it'll be. I think if it's down to business, the reason the fight don't happen if they can't get their sides right. But as I said, it's got to be right for both fighters, both parties. It's right us all watching on TV and then putting on the wall and beating the hell out of each other, but they've got to be getting paid right. So for them, they've got to make sure they're doing right by themselves.
And in terms of obviously latest news regarding the Conor Benn situation, as a team, how has it impacted you?
It's not really impacted me. Like I've been through dark times myself in the boxing game, and I understand things. I try and but everyone goes through them dark times in their own way. But it's just been hard for him. For me personally, watching him go through it, it's not nice to see because I've got my young son in our gym now. He's 18. It's the thing that one day he could be going through that same scenario sort of thing with depression, which is involved in boxing. Depression is very heavily involved in boxing because you're at such highs in the arenas and you're at massive lows. But in all aspects, whether they've called Conor a cheat or whatnot, and whether he's now they've found him not guilty, but losing big fights, you come on massive downs and you can be depressed. But I know of all people how hard that is on them low times and that. But it's not really affecting me massively. But it's just not nice to see him go through them times. He's a nice kid. He's a good kid. He looks after my young fighters. He pays their travel fees and that, which nobody knows about. He pays for my mate Rose's travel fees and that. He's a really good kid, very smart kid, and he's like a sponge as well. He watches, he learns. And watching him in the gym is for me, even as the fight level I fought at, I love watching him. He's entertaining.
And finally on this then, how did you see or feel with the interview, how it went? I mean, a lot of people were saying that he shouldn't have done it. Would you concur with that?
Well, to be fair, I've not seen the interview. I just said to a gentleman over there, I've not seen the interview really, so I can't really comment on it. But I know Piers Morgan, he likes to rip you, doesn't he? So perhaps it might have been a bad move, it might have been a good move, but Conor's all right. Conor's in a good place, he's in the gym. He's back. He seems back happy again for the first time in a long while. So that's all I care about.